Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 81 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the podcast for you. Now, in today's episode, Leslie and I wanted to talk to you about something very interesting that came up in our live Q&A last week. So one of our members said to us that when lockdown happened, she was actually not too dismayed about it because she thought it would be a great opportunity to get like all those household jobs and all those little things on her list and all those decluttering jobs done. But she's realized that her reality, that it's been really, really different. And she feels really unsettled and she finds it all really surreal. And she just realized that her motivation and determination have really become sapped. And she's been chatting to her friends and they were like, yeah, we feel the same. So she was wondering, how do I get that mojo to declutter my house? How do I get that back? I was doing so well and now I feel like I've fallen off the rails. So we just thought it was such a good topic, and that's why we've, again, as per usual, thrown our whole podcast schedule out of the window, and we realized that it's such a good question. So Leslie, we decided we want to answer this question, don't we?
Yeah, when it came up in our live Q&A last week, we thought this is really interesting because this is something that we're hearing quite a lot. I mean, our job here at the Declutter Hub is obviously to try and motivate people to declutter their houses, but we are also all about keeping it real. And so we're not, yes, use this opportunity to do some decluttering. If that's what you want to do, then go for it. But equally, we fully understand that not everybody is in that place at the moment. And it might be that you are today and you're not tomorrow. You are this week, but you're not next week. I think it's so different and so changeable, the way that it's affecting all of our moods. And it is going to continue to change, that we thought it was something worth exploring.
Yeah, for sure, because we all live at the moment in completely unprecedented times. None of us have ever before been struck down by this virus that is impacting our everyday way of life, and we've never had to deal with the emotions and the fallout of this kind of new reality, and we're all trying to find our way how we handle this current situation. So we're all trying as best we think that we can handle it.
Yeah, I think one of the most difficult parts of it, certainly for me, is the fact that it's so open-ended. So you don't know how long it's going to be. You know, if you had a plan and said, right, okay, so we're down for another 4 weeks now before we can get out of this, let's think about what we're going to do. But, you know, the thought that this might still be months away is quite depressing, isn't it? You know, I think also we've got people with anxiety before this happened, and their anxiety is going to be through the roof. And we've got people who really struggle with health, worry about the impact on the health. There are so many facets to this that need exploring. And sometimes I know you have to respond to it in the way that you see fit, but sometimes you have to shield yourself from other people that are having different emotions. So if you're feeling positive and you're like, you don't want to be brought down by people that are feeling negative, or vice versa, you know, so you have to protect yourself in that way as well, because we're not going through the same thing at the same time. And our normal outlets for helping ourselves or getting through this, which is talking to family, seeing friends, going out, enjoying yourself, going to the cinema, going for dinner, our normal outlets to deal with this kind of thing are just taken away from us. And so we are really restricted with our normal coping mechanisms as well, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, until now, I'm feeling quite okay. But we had a whole chat about it, didn't we, Leslie? I'm like, I'm feeling good now, but it might all be different next week. You know, you never know how you're going to respond and what kind of wave. It feels a bit like a roller coaster. We're onto something we can't get off. At the moment, I feel like, okay, I do feel so positive that we can work on the Declutter Hub and are here to inspire in our Facebook group. And we can we're doing these podcasts to chat to everybody. But you never know what might happen. And I might go next week, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? I just don't know how I feel about it right now. But for now, I'm trying to stay in this positive frame of mind. But it's not always very easy. You know, you just have to, you deal with it however you can.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me, and I am no expert on this, I am lucky that at this moment in time, I've not been adversely affected by it at all. It's just about the impact on my movement, really, more than anything else. I'm just stuck at home. Other than that, there's been, touch wood, no changes to me at the moment. So I've not had any problems economically, financially, health wise. So I'm super, super lucky, and I realise that. I think the most important thing for me is to be mindful of the way this is impacting other people. So just this morning, we decided to do the sort of standard thing that we're all doing at the moment, which is a really lovely thing, which is to set up a Zoom call with all of our friends on that WhatsApp message that I sent out. If you don't feel up to it, or you don't think it's going to be a positive thing for you, then don't feel obliged to do it. There's no obligation, and even if you change your mind 10 minutes before, because we really are on a roller coaster. And so I think the most important thing for me is to be mindful that this is affecting everybody in a completely different way and at completely different times. So being mindful is the number one thing, I think, for me.
Yeah, and I think also for me, what's really important, be kind to yourself. We are all dealing with it. This is in a different way. So don't think, oh, well, everybody else is just getting on with it and everybody else is doing stuff and I'm not doing anything, and then be negative to yourself. I think we have to really drop that judgment to ourselves and just go, you know what? I'm dealing it the best way I can. I'm just going to be kind to myself. I'm going to listen to my own body. I'm going to listen to how my own state, how I feel. And from there, I'm going to take steps forward and not look around what everybody else is doing, because I think you just get overwhelmed and just think that you're not in the right state of mind. And that's not going to help anybody.
Yeah, so it's important to sort of see that and to appreciate what other people are doing, but also to recognise that if you're not in that place to do that at the moment. So you can see on the Facebook group, there are some people that are completely motivated to spend their time decluttering and doing positive things. And equally, there are other people who are probably, there's no way that I can do that are probably feeling less good about themselves because they're not doing anything. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, isn't it? Should we be obliged to be doing positive things with our time while we're in lockdown?
You know what? I think for me, there's just, some people go into action and others need time to get used to this new reality. And for me, there is no right or no wrong way.
And I think it's going to be different time-wise as well, isn't it? Like you say, you and I, we are lucky. We have been talking to each other every day. We have been making positive steps forward with the business. We took a few days off this weekend because we needed it. And so we are fairly in tune with what each other needs for most of the time, and we're lucky to be able to chat and have a bit of, we do have a laugh, don't we, Ingrid? That's the nice thing. So it is quite a nice diversion. To work with somebody that you like to be with is a nice thing, really. So we're lucky in that way. But equally, it can be different. As we said, those moods can change depending on what's happening. The bad news, I think, is starting to come through. Certainly for me at the moment, I'm starting to hear of those people dying at the moment. That wasn't the case last week. So then it's all starting to get very real, isn't it? The posts of people's parents dying is coming through on Facebook now that weren't last week. And so I think that it's going to change again, isn't it? So where does decluttering and routines and organising and your home fit into all this?
Well, I think for me, it might sound really weird, but I think if you are even contemplating doing a little bit of decluttering, I would say start with sleeping, which that sounds maybe really strange, but if you are well rested, then you feel better to take anything on. So if you're struggling with sleeping, what really helps, and I've been doing some reading on this, and a lot of people agree, sleep is so important. And what I'm trying to do as well is to go to bed better, be better, because I am terrible for staying up in the evening because I love my evenings and then I can't get out of bed in the morning. But I've said to myself, I really want to get up the same time every day. So I'm trying to be better at going to bed and having that same sleep amount of hours and having a little bit more than I usually have has really helped me, because I think I'm a very busy person. I love being busy and doing lots of different things. And I think I run my battery a little bit too low. So for me, I feel really good at sleeping a little bit more at the moment, and I'm feeling more balanced. So I think that can really help, I think, to set your mood.
I think you and I spoke about this last week, didn't you? And said there were times in the last couple of weeks where we've been, we're both the same. We kind of run our batteries fairly low, and we do work long into the evenings quite regularly. And so you then need your leisure time as well. So we're a bit of a cliche, but you and I are a little bit work hard, play hard, aren't we? Sound like such a cliche saying that. But yeah, I've been exhausted. So, normally my bedtime is probably 11:30, midnight. By the time I might go to bed at 11 o'clock. By the time I've faffed around on my phone, everything that you're not supposed to do with the white screens or whatever it is, it's probably midnight before I'm going to sleep, and then up again at 7 the next day. I used to be a great sleeper. I used to be able to be sort of 8 or 9 hours a night, but that ship has sailed. And so now I'm lucky if I get 5 or 6 hours, but I'm really tired. And so I'm definitely going to bed much earlier, but I believe that's the stress of what's going on causes people to be more tired. And so I don't know whether you don't know then again, do you? You don't know. Is it that, or is it just because you're tired, or because you don't need to stay up quite as late because there's not much to stay up for? So yeah, it's an interesting one. Definitely important to get sleep and to try and retain. So I guess what you're saying is, even if you've not got standard routines within your day and within your working day, if you're not going to work, or if you've been furloughed or anything like that, it's important to keep those routines going for you and your family, certainly, and sleep is the important part of that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the second thing I'm doing at the moment during weekdays, Monday to Friday, I get up at 7, and at 7:15, I got my trainers on and my jogging outfit. And, it was so funny. Like, yes, Leslie, yesterday, I had my in-laws and my whole extended family on the phone. Like all my husband is two brothers. So we were all on the phone with the in-laws as well. And I was like, yeah, I've been walking every day at 7:15. And my in-laws went, there are people who do not believe this. And I'm like, I don't think I even believe it myself that I'm actually doing this, but I have proof, which is my daughter, who's been going with me every morning at 7:15 for just a walk, about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, depending on what circle we do. And it has helped me tremendously, because I know for myself, as soon as I start my day and I start doing my emails and I start helping the kids and pottering around, I cannot find that time later in the day. I know myself. So I thought, if I want to do anything, I need to put that immediately at the beginning of the day. And then I know it's been done. And the weather has been amazing. So it's been really, really lovely. But there are people who are like, we don't believe this, because they know I hate getting up in the morning. So, but it has helped me to get that fresh air every day because we're only allowed out to go either to the shops or to the pharmacy or do some walking here in the UK. So I've been really doing that exercise Monday to Friday. I've been a bit more lazy over the weekend, but Monday to Friday I've been walking, and it's doing me the world of good, honestly.
Well, that's good. Still not into the idea of a 7:15 walk, but I can see that I'm not going to change your mind about that. I am doing, and I'm normally with you. So I normally, if I am going to do exercise, because I run normally, and I do that at the beginning of a day, not at 7:15, by the way, but kind of normally 8:30, 8:45. I'm out running before my day starts. But I'm walking with my son and daughter, my husband sometimes if he's around. So we're going at 4:30 every day, which is quite nice as well. And kind of breaks the day up a little bit. And as you say, it has been amazing weather. So I set myself a new target last week, which was to do 5K walk every day. So I've got to do 5K, which is around 55 minutes, somewhere 50 to 60 minutes to get that 5K in. So I'm going to try and do that all week. So that's my target. And I think some part of it for me is, they might say you can't do any exercise at any day. We might watch one of those press briefings and they're like, nope, no more exercise. You've got to stay in your garden. And then I'll be gutted if I didn't go out the previous day for my walk. And so I'm like, we need to pack the walks in while we can, just in case anything changes. So yeah, sleeping and walking, really, really critical. I mean, that's just for general well-being, but it's really important at the moment. So we've talked about the fact that it's important to be mindful of the way that other people are dealing with the situation. We've talked about being kind to yourself as well. We've talked about routine a little bit, trying to maintain normal routines. So what about the people who had great intentions to declutter during this lockdown, but just can't see a way through? What do we do in that situation? Is it a bad thing? Should we be doing decluttering? Is it a good thing? What are we saying about that, Ingrid?
For me, I'm like, if you do not fancy any decluttering at the moment, just leave it a little while. Just leave it, because I think you need to be almost in the mood to do a bit of decluttering. And yes, of course, you have to motivate yourself to do it. I don't always fancy, yes, I'm a professional organizer. I always fancy sorting out the cupboard. But that still means, you have to kind of go, yes, I'm going to do that today. So if you are like, oh my gosh, I am not fancy this at all, then don't. And let it go. And don't be hard on yourself that you're like, okay, I haven't done it. What I would say to you, make sure you then stay on top of your little household jobs. Do your washing up, empty your bins, bring out your recycling if you can, do a bit of laundry, all of those little normal kind of bits and bobs that you would normally do anyway. See if you can at least do those so you don't go backwards. Stay where you are and get those little jobs done. You kind of let things tick over nicely. And then when you start to feel a bit more positive again, then you can kind of go, okay, I feel a bit more ready now. But if you do not fancy it, by all means, leave it. What do you think, Leslie?
Oh, yeah, I could not agree more. That's your term now, could not agree more, isn't it? I'm like starting saying things now like you could not agree more. Absolutely, could not agree more. For sure. I'm going to say all these things. It's not mine. I'm taking on your. Anyway, I couldn't agree more, because the thing is about decluttering, as you've said, you called it being in the mood. Actually, it involves a lot of focus. That's why, as part of our decluttering, one of the things is we talk about preparing your mind, preparing your body. So this is not something that you can just suddenly randomly say, yeah, I'm going to do that. You need to prepare for it. And so it does involve a lot of focus. Even if I'm working with a client, if they ring me and said, you know what, I've had a really bad night, not feeling great, my anxiety's through the roof, feeling a little bit down today, normally I would say, let's leave it until a day when you're feeling a little bit better about yourself. So the normal circumstances, decluttering is not something that you need to be doing when you're on a down day. Of course, sometimes it can make you feel better about yourself as well if you do push yourself into that place where you do a little bit, but you need to understand the way that you work. I think you're absolutely right. What we don't want is we don't want your house to slip back. We're in our homes. We can't really go anywhere else. And so we need to make sure that our homes are working well for us. So don't let those daily routines slip. Make sure you make your bed every day, do the washing up, as Ingrid said, keep on top of the laundry, keep on top of the ironing. Small wins, just to make sure that things are ticking along nicely. Because it's easy sometimes, isn't it, when no one else is coming in, to let those standards slip, because you think, well, who cares, because no one else is seeing it apart from me. So it's important to kind of try and keep on top of those things too. But absolutely, if you don't want to do any decluttering, there is absolutely no reason for you to have to do that at the moment. But it's there for you if you want to do it. And there are many people out there who do want to do it. Even if they're feeling a little bit down about things, they still have got this sort of niggling thing at the back of their mind saying, I really, really want to make these positive steps forward during lockdown, but I'm struggling. So what's our advice to people who think, you know what, yeah, I do want to do a bit. Give me some advice on how I can start and how I can make this work when I'm not feeling 100%.
Well, I think what is really important is make your jobs and your goals of what you want to do really small. We all have a tendency to go, I'm going to declutter the whole room. I'm going to sort out my whole loft. I'm going to tackle my whole kitchen. That even in normal circumstances, if I can call, is already far too big of a goal. So start breaking down the project in small bits and make them even smaller than usual. So normally you might say, okay, I'm going to have a look at my kitchen, and today I'm going to do all my cutlery and all my utensils. I've broken my kitchen down in small projects, and cutlery and utensils is on my list of things to do today. I would say during this time, if you're trying to get some almost decluttering mojo back, say, I'm going to do my cutlery and I'm going to do my teaspoons today. That's how small I'm talking about here. And then say, tomorrow I'm going to look at my knives, and tomorrow I'm going to look at my forks, And the day after, I'm going to look at my utensils. I'm only going to look at my wooden spoons. And the day after, I'm going to look at my pasta strainers. That's how small, I mean, breaking down the project. So you can almost give yourself that little pat on the back and go, yay, I wasn't up for anything, but I looked at my teaspoons today. So I am doing something positive, and really celebrate those wins. What do you think, Leslie?
Exactly what you're saying, because it's important to get those goals small. And then if you think, you know what, that wasn't so painful, I can do more than my teaspoons, and then you achieve your teaspoons and your forks, then you've done twice as much as what you intended. And so your wins, celebrating your wins, feels better because you've done more than you expected rather than less. And so it's really, really, really important to break this right down to something super, super small.
Yes, and I think I love a list, Leslie. I do love a list. So maybe you can make a little list for yourself. It can be, a piece of scrap paper where you put, so you can actually cross it through when you've done it and go, you know what do I really want to sort out? For example, in my kitchen, I want to look at my Tupperware, and I want to look at my mugs, and I want to look at my cutlery, and I'm going to look and break that down and then cross it through or tick it off the list. So you're like, yes. And that way you feel positive about it, instead of thinking, oh, well, I made a goal of decluttering my whole kitchen and now I haven't even done anything yet. So I think it's your mindset might want to change a little bit.
Yeah, and you know what's also a really good thing to do? If you've already done a job that morning, write it on your list and then cross it through. And then it looks like you've done even more. Do you ever do that?
Like, yes, all the time.
Yeah. So even if you've done 5 things, these are my goals for today, write them down and cross them out straight away. Like, check me out. Look how many things I've done. So that's also fine in the decluttering world, isn't it? Ticking off things that you've already done.
I do that all the time. I seriously, on my personal list, on my work list, I'm thinking, oh, I've done that, but it wasn't on my list. Let me write it down and then cross it off. Oh, this makes me laugh so much because it's really, really true. I do that all the time. I think also maybe if you want to make a little list and maybe just go, these are my 5 things, empty the bins, do the washing up. And so you can cross them off. You have to do them every day, but there's something about crossing off things from a list that is so satisfying.
Exactly. So ideally, when you're making your list, don't put 10 things on that you've already done. Also good to put something on your list that you've not done yet. But, if you want to feel good about yourself, just write 10 things that you've already done that morning and it's fine. Crazy times, crazy measures. Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, write it on your list, tick it off straight away. No, I think you're absolutely right, Ingrid. Breaking things down into these really small chunks. That was our advice to our member last week on the live Q&A, wasn't it? It's just understanding your own goals. So we talk all the time about SMART goals. Now, if you haven't heard about SMART goals, they are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So just to whiz through those quickly. Specific, today I am going to declutter and organize my teaspoons. Measurable, you can measure that because you can see how many teaspoons you had before in the drawer and after, so you can say whether or not you've done that. Achievable, yes, it certainly is achievable for most people that day, as long as you're feeling up to it. Realistic, is it a realistic goal for today? Something like that probably is realistic if you're feeling okay because it's only a 5-minute job. Timely is the one that's tricky at the moment because is it the right time? So if it's not the right time for you, jumping back to what we were saying at the beginning, leave that goal for another day.
Yes. And we did a really good podcast last week, didn't we, Leslie, about what you can declutter now that charity shops are closed. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, the kitchen is not going to be really helpful because I know there's a lot of stuff in there that I want to bring to the charity shop, listen into the podcast that we did last week with loads of suggestions of items you could have a look at that will not create bags and bags full of stuff, but are all kind of smart options for you to do. Now you can't bring your items away.
And the nice thing about some of those, if you feel, you know what, I've not even got enough get up and go to get up off the sofa, I'm just sitting there watching TV, which is perfectly fine. A lot of these little decluttering tasks can be done simultaneously while sitting on the sofa because they're digital. You can scroll through your phone, you can get rid of contacts, all the things that we were talking about last week. So listening to last week's podcast, it was the infamous episode 80, which we recorded 3 or 4 times. So episode 80 that we did last week. Can't believe we've got on to 81. Yeah. It's impressive, isn't it? As I say, we have. So how many times have we done episode 81?
3 times. And now episode 80 we did 3 times. This is the second version. We had one completely lined up, ready to go. It's not going to happen. I think we've moved that to next week, Leslie. So we need to record a new intro.
Yeah, we've moved it to next week until next week when we come up with another idea of what we can do. But anyway, we love recording podcasts. So what's the problem? We just record them over and over.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hopefully that's been a little bit helpful. I hope it's not been too negative because we don't like to be negative really. But I think it's really important for us to be realistic. And these are very strange times and we are all dealing with them in very different ways. Do not feel guilty because other people are doing loads and loads of positive things and you feel like you should be doing that too. If you're not up for it, leave it. You need to look after yourself. You need to exercise self-care, and self-care looks different to different people.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Maybe this time you actually speaking to a couple of your friends more on the telephone because you're all at home and you've got more time to chat. And maybe that's actually a really good thing. I feel that although I'm not doing any decluttering, I feel that having those connections with other people is really enriching my life. So if your reward if you're not decluttering, but you still, oh, you know what, I want to do something positive, reach out to a family member or a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time, or maybe you can write them a little card or just phone them up or give them a WhatsApp and just reach out to people. And I think those human connections are really, really important now. So, and maybe you say to yourself, you know what, I am going to set myself a tiny little decluttering task a day. And as a reward, I'm going to call my friend and be with her on the phone for half an hour and have a nice little chinwag. And that's my reward for doing a tiny little decluttering job.
Can I just pull you up on one little thing that you said, Ingrid?
Yes.
You said you had not done any decluttering. Now that is a fib because in lockdown, you have done Max's bedroom, Anne's bedroom, the understairs cupboard, the sewing basket, just that I remember. What else have you done? Why did you say you're not doing any decluttering? Because basically we have to continue decluttering because we have to record videos for our membership. And so we're decluttering like crazy because we've got time to declutter at the moment. So yeah, I was like, she just said she's not doing any decluttering. I'm not sure that's entirely honest.
I don't think I realized I said it that way. I think it meant more that maybe our listeners are not doing any decluttering.
Well, we'll see how it comes out in the edits, shall we?
Yes. But yes, Leslie, I have been doing a bit of decluttering because I think maybe my way to deal with the situation is that I think, you know what, it makes me feel good. So maybe I've done a bit more decluttering than normal because I know it makes me feel good when I do a bit of decluttering. So Leslie, thanks so much for outing me. I don't think I said I didn't do any decluttering. So in the edited version of this podcast, I will listen in and see exactly what I said about decluttering or not.
I know, but the one thing that you failing to see is that I'm the one that does the editing, so I will edit it so that I'm right, obviously. So we do have one request for you all. So we've done now, this is episode 81. We've done 81 podcasts, which I know lots of you are loving. And so I'm saying, please, can you leave us a review? Can you share the podcast? We want more people to listen. Those reviews are absolutely critical to where we rank in the charts. Yeah, there are podcast charts and we're in them. We do okay, but we really want to do better, don't we, Ingrid? Just a little one to say what you enjoy about the podcast, whether you like listening to Ingrid and I, whether you like the topics. If you found a podcast that really resonated with you, please leave us a review. You can do it on our website if you want to do that, if that's where you listen to our podcast. Or you can do it in your podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. It really, really will make a massive difference to what we're doing. So pretty pleased that you do that for us.
So yes, listeners, we've now done 3 really interesting podcasts all about decluttering during lockdown. So even if your friends are not into decluttering, maybe they think to themselves, you know what, we're all at home. We are tackling a few little areas in and around our houses. Share those podcasts on social media as well, so your friends and your family can have a listen to us as well. So listeners, basically, we just say be kind to yourself, hang in there. Thanks for listening. And we're really, really happy you're here and we can inspire you and motivate you during these really strange times. If you'd like to get more tips and advice, please follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as @DeclutterHub. And we've got a lovely, supportive Facebook group called the Declutter Hub Community. Come and find us there and join in the fun there. And if you'd like to know more about our membership, have a look at members.declutterhub.com. If you don't want to miss the next weekly episode, subscribe to the Declutter Hub podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. And it will pop into your notifications each Friday. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration and don't forget to tune in next week.